you like it, but people who don't grow up with it like don't. So like I remember when we hosted a couple of Japanese exchange students, they
Mhm.
had like an event where the Americans tried to, it was like a speed eating contest where the Americans tried with natto and the Japanese people tried with root beer. And that was like the equivalent.
Interesting. I'm probably gonna have to eat some natto with school lunch this year. There's not at my previous school. People in my area, I am told, don't like natto. Like in Kansai, the area of Japan I live in, it's just like here they don't like natto. And I was talking to a lady the other day, and I said that. She's like, "It's true. I'm from like a different area. I love natto. My husband hates it."
Interesting.
Yeah. So who knows? My girlfriend never eats it. So, all right, let's get this show on the road.
Let's do it.
Do it. Do it. Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix, episode 116 on this April 11th, 2020. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's least favorite soda. I am joined today by Alex.
Hi. Have you ever had the Orbitz soda that had the stuff floating in it?
One time when I was a kid, I think I put like the crunch, like the crunch bars, but they had like crunch balls. They're like chocolate with like the rice cereal, and I put those in some Sprite. It didn't taste good.
That's how, yeah, no way.
That is the voice of Allison.
Hi. Yeah, I've got nothing. That sounds disgusting.
One time as a child, I put some ginger ale into cereal.
Oh.
It was not very good.
Oh, that feels like a very kid thing where you're like, they're both delicious out separate, so why not together? And you're like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, carbonated cereal is a little weird.
Yeah, I bet.
With the chocolate in the soda, I think I also fell asleep afterwards, and I woke up and I forgot I did it.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what is this? And I drank some. I was like, no.
You're like, oh, past me left this Sprite here. Thank you, past me. Oh no, that was a mistake.
Yeah. I don't know what possessed me or how it happened. But I think for some reason in my head, I remember thinking, this looks like a fly laid eggs or something. But it was too big. It was bigger. The balls were bigger than flies, but I still drank it anyway after thinking this.
This looks like a fly had eggs. So why would you put that in soda? I'm.
Well, no, it was when I woke up, I was like, because I forgot what happened.
Oh.
So I was like, so I drank it.
But you still drank it, even though you're like, oh, I forgot what happened. Hey, This looks like there was like flies in here. Well, I'll still drink the Sprite. Like,
yeah, I think it was flat too. Like it was a bad scene.
No, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, Sprite's all right. Yeah,
Sprite's
yeah, it's pretty good.
Sprite or 7-Up?
It's been too long since I've had either one.
Fair enough.
I feel
Probably
like Sprite is a lot easier to get, but like, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I had 7-Up, but it feels like weirdly more nostalgic for me, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Anyways, hi, video games.
Video games.
Video games.
No, we aren't talking about the gamer soda, the most gamery of all beverages.
I was 100% considering, just for this podcast, going and getting that gamer fuel. Like, they're giving out a bunch of like Mountain Dew gamer fuel on Twitter, and I was like, would that be content? And I decided nah.
Anything is content if you try hard enough.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That.
But like, and if you pronounce it slightly differently, anything is content if you try hard enough.
How do I know when I'm content?
That sounds like you're just like one of those, like, I don't know, like motivational speakers who are like, anything's content if it's content. And I'm like, Alex, don't go down that road.
And in our apocalyptic future, we might need some motivational speakers and someone to remind us what content is and what content is. I think Alex is going to corner that market.
Oh
In
no,
the future,
almost certainly not.
in the future, will we stop using currency and just use content?
Yeah.
Where-
That's
Where
some people will think we
Oh,
live
God.
in that world already.
Well, with all the
I'm an
likes,
influencer.
with all the
and
likes,
you should-
comments, and subscribes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an influencer. You should give me free food.
It sounds like a terrible episode of Black Mirror where it's like the number of subscribers is like tied to your worth as a human being. I guess that's kind of like that one Black Mirror, but
It's also not
Yeah,
that far
it's-
from reality.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Things are real cheery on this episode of Gaming Fix.
Join us for Nihilist Fix.
Oh,
Let's. You know what? There's someone on this podcast who is always bringing joy to our conversations with everything they talk about. Most of the time, sometimes they don't, but most of the time, it's a
But
joyous occasion.
But Erica isn't here today.
Erica brings plenty of joy to this podcast. I'm talking about Allison.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
thank
Allison
you.
always brings such joy to this
okay.
conversation.
What were the things that you're talking about with like sometimes not?
I don't know. I don't want to. I'm sure sometimes you've brought like things that aren't great.
I know that I have. I just
I-
thought that
We've done
like,
115 episodes before this, not including Game of the Year. I'm sure some of them weren't great topics of conversation.
yeah, that's true.
Because the game stunk or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I've certainly played some bad games, so that's probably true.
We all
Um,
have.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, we all played Control.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Oh my gosh. You're never going to like you and Sam with Edith Finch are going to be like forever carrying that. But all of us here like Edith Finch though.
Yeah.
Which is a good game.
I never played it.
Oh,
good.
well, it's a good game.
Paper
Anywho.
Stain.
Anyways, so I've played a lot of nonsense this week. Some Animal Crossing, which today was the end. Yesterday was the end of cherry blossom season, and I didn't get the recipes I wanted. So
wait. Sorry,
Feel
did you
sad
say
for me.
Did you say Cherry Blossom?
no cherry blossom.
Oh,
Yeah,
that'd be a good name for an event.
cherry blossom. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. No, it's just that there's cherry blossoms blooming all over your town, and I'm like, and you can get recipes to use them with, but
The cherry blossom stuff was like a good thing. It just like it made your island pretty.
yeah,
There were like a few recipes. It wasn't super obtrusive. It still
Yeah.
didn't grow your normal fruit.
the one
Instead, Bunny Day.
I was so excited for Bunny Day, and now I'm just kind of like, oh, this is a thing.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
This
I-
weekend is the fishing tournament, and like
Oh,
you
yay.
get 3 minutes, and you're supposed to go and catch as many fish as you can in 3 minutes, and that's like I don't know, 7 fish, 8 fish if you're lucky. You could probably do more if you get bait, but whatever. Except because it's Bunny Day, some of the fish are still eggs, and
Oh,
eggs don't count.
No, I haven't played that.
This game is
that yet.
bullshit.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible. This game is terrible.
No. I've put out all of the Bunny Day furniture that I have made, which is basically all just kind of like garishly colored eggs themed. And so my house is a horrible mess right now. It looks terrible.
So it made you Ukrainian?
Well, if that was the goal, they succeeded, I guess.
Sorry to all our Ukrainian listeners.
I'm part Ukrainian, so I'll take
Oh,
responsibility for
wow.
that one.
But
I have Ukrainian friends.
But the thing about the Cherry Blossom Day is that getting the recipes was so much harder than getting the Bunny Day recipes. So that was not as good because yesterday night I was running along the beach waiting for the balloons with presents to spawn. And once they did, shooting them down and just like hoping that they would contain a cherry blossom recipe, and then they didn't. But that's the way that you get them. So I don't know. That was a thing. I played a little bit of Mario Odyssey yesterday, which is good. Lot of Picross. And then also I've played some of Kuki Yomi Considerate, which I think, I was looking this up. I think it started its life as a DS game and then has morphed into various other consoles and I think mobile too. But it was pretty inexpensive on Switch, and it looked like it looked very unusual because all of the art is basically black and white, kind of stick figure like art. So I was like, okay, I'll pick this up. It looks weird, and it was fun. It was very it's very, very silly. Basically the whole concept is that you're playing kind of WarioWare style mini games, but they're all about how considerate you can be. And this game is very, very Japanese, made by Japanese devs. And at one point they say, some of the text will be Japanese, enjoy Japanese culture. And you're like, okay.
Awesome.
You're like, that's cool. I mean, it's all playable, but there are certain things where I'm like, is this like a cultural thing that I'm missing? But for example, one of them is like you're talking with a friend on an escalator. You're on both sides of the escalator. Somebody's behind you. So it's like you quickly have to move to the right so that they can go on the left. But the thing is that's kind of interesting is that it doesn't actually tell you how you do with a lot of these. So there's certain, kind of like real life, there are certain moments where you're just like sitting and rethinking, like, did I do that right? Did I do that wrong? Should I have done this differently? Like there's like one time where you are getting off at the last stop of your either bus or train, and there's like a signal that you want to get off. It's like, I pressed it and I'm like, should I have pressed it since it was the last stop anyways? So it'll automatically stop. Do I get up then? And you start like overthinking it. But beyond that, some of the situations get really, really weird. Like there's multiple ones where you're like dating someone and it's like, what date should you go on to? And there's one where you're dating a cow. And it's like, which restaurant do you go to? The sushi restaurant or the yakiniku restaurant? And it's like, oh, you don't go to the yakiniku restaurant because with your cow girlfriend. And so just like some of the situations get increasingly bizarre and just kind of fun. So I played some of the main mode, which basically is like, you have like 100 situations and that you keep going through to show like, but I think there's a couple of other modes. There's like a mode where it's like, you can freely be inconsiderate. So it's like, you try out all these situations, but you just try to be as inconsiderate as possible. And it's a very, very silly game that I feel like I was glad that I gave a shot because it's a very unique experience, for sure.
Seems like a game. It seems like a game I would want on my phone instead of my Switch.
Yeah, I think that there is like a mobile version. I just saw it on the Switch. I was just like browsing the Switch eShop and I saw it and I was like, okay, this seems weird. And I picked it up, but I think that there's a couple of, I don't know how it would be on a phone, but I'm sure that it would translate just fine.
Yeah. Alex.
So obviously, if you do the correct actions, you succeed or whatever. What happens if you fail?
It just kind of moves on.
Oh,
See,
okay.
that's the thing. That's why you're like, did I do the correct action? Because and then you start like rethinking things. Like, so for example, there's one where you're sitting on a train, right? And you're like next to a bar and you're trying to make sure that like these two people who are together can sit next to each other.
Mhm.
And like, if you move the wrong way, they can't sit there because there's like a bar separating them or like a pole separating them. And like, I did that and you're just like, oh no. Because, and then it just moves on. So it's like a lot of it is your own interpretation of like, is this right? Is this wrong? And then like every 5, I think, it'll give you a result screen that's like, you're moderately considerate, but I don't know what all they mean. So like, so it's like, some of them are like, you're moderately considerate, you're sort of considerate, this and that considerate. And you're just like, how does this rate? Like it doesn't seem to make any sense really. So if you want to be, doing it just absolutely 100% correctly, this might be a frustrating game, but it was yeah. But like, don't expect that it's going to like, if you do it wrong, it'll just be like, let's move.
All right, so it's not like what was that game? Mom hid my game or whatever. Where it just stops your progress and you start again.
I every so often I see people talk about that, and I still think of it as Hidden My Game by Mom.
That's the one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
They've updated it, I think, as like Mom Hid My Game. But
for like the eShop for like Switch on phones, it's still Hidden My Game by Mom, I believe. I haven't checked though. They probably have some new games out.
Yeah, it's still Hidden My Game by Mom. But I still think there's also Hidden My Snacks by Mom.
Good. Oh, that's a new one. Yep, I knew it. So
Hidden My Ramen by Mom.
What?
I don't know if these are all the same people though.
Yeah. So Kukiyomi, it means literally like read the air.
Yeah.
And in Japanese, they have a term for people who can't read the air, which is KY, which is very funny. So they just use KY as a acronym for Kukiyomanai for people who can't read the air, which is amusing. You're just like, KY, what does that mean? Something else in English. Yeah, that I wish that was on mobile.
I honestly think it is.
No, I'll
I picked it up on. I picked it up on Switch, but let's see, Kukiyomi. It's on iOS. So there's that.
A free version,
and then a pro version,
Android.
which is without ads.
When did this come out? Is it the same one?
I don't know.
I think there are multiple versions.
I think there are because
2019. No, yeah, this is the same one, I guess.
Yeah.
December 25th, 2019. Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Download that right now.
It is a very very, very silly game. There are multiple moments where I actively laughed out loud. So it's very I think it's very fun, and if you want something kind of humorous.
All right. Well, Alex.
Hi.
We can talk about Legend of the Galactic Heroes now, or we could talk about Final Fantasy VII. But I've played the beginning, and you've watched the end.
Yeah, let's talk about Final Fantasy. I'd like to hear your
Let's talk about the middle of that game where neither of us know what happens.
Yeah.
I'll be the responsible for the middle of the game because I've not played the original, and I have not played any of this remake.
You know what? Based on where I'm at, that doesn't matter. It's not entirely true, but...
Like, doesn't matter as in, like, you can be fine having not played the original?
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you've not played the original. You would get more out of it by being familiar with it, I believe.
Right.
Like I played the beginning of that game, or like the first half of it, a few times. I never beat it. I got like right before the end, but it's also never my favorite Final Fantasy.
Right.
Which I believe we've discussed on this.
I say I haven't played it, and that's mostly true. But I did play. I have it on Steam, and I played like 20-ish minutes of it. So I feel like that's not playing anything in like a Final Fantasy game.
You played like the first 3 hours of this game.
Cool. Yeah. So it was but it just felt so dated that I was just like, I don't know if I want to play this. So
there are some things in the Final Fantasy VII remake that feel very dated. Like there's some puzzle solving mechanics that and like light platforming that just feel bad. Like worse than Kingdom Hearts 3, because Kingdom Hearts 3 at least felt like a PS2 game, where there are parts of this game that feel like a PS1 game, which is just like, what are you doing?
It's like you're playing Gex or something.
No, like you're playing Final Fantasy VII.
What if that was like the secret middle that none of us have played? It's just replaying all of Gex.
Hell yeah.
That's going to be the interstitial between, like Kentucky Route Zero did the interstitials between episode 1 and 2. Yeah. It's going to be the entirety of Gex as the interstitial between part 1 and part 2 of this Final Fantasy VII remake.
And you can skip it, but then you won't understand the rest of the story.
Yeah, and then part 2 to part 3 is Glover.
Yep. But was Glover only on N64?
I only played it on N64. I don't know if it was elsewhere.
You gotta love the glove. Put Glover in Smash, damn it. Anyway, Final Fantasy VII Remake is... I've been having a really good time with it.
Yeah, do you have any affinity for the original? Like, you said you played half of it, but like, did you stop because you weren't enjoying it, or because...
I mean, I got to like Disc 3, and Disc 3 is like just the end of the game. But I just never beat it for whatever reason. I've seen it beaten, I think was part of it. Like it was one of those summer things where me and like 3 other people in the house were playing the game. And we only had like we had like a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2. And so there'd be like trading back and forth of like, okay, you had your 2 hours. Now I get my 2 hours, stuff like that. So that and Final Fantasy X got a lot of play during those summers. But yeah, so like I like characters from it. Vincent is cool. Yuffie's cool. Kate Shi, what's his name's weird. The cat, I don't know.
I've heard there's lots of cats in the village in this, but
you can interact. You can interact with a handful. You cannot pet the cat. How about that?
0 out of 10.
Yeah, this game's doo doo. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. And it's, I don't know, ask me anything about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Does the pacing feel good? Like, because like, yeah. I've been hearing that, like, well, you were alluding to Allison played the first 20 minutes. That's like 3 hours of the game. Like, does that feel fine? I was being flippant, but I think it does, because what they're doing is they're actually fleshing out the world and building things out. I could see how maybe it might start to drag if you're not into that, but you can also skip a lot of it. Part of it is doing side quests and things like that. So basically the intro to the game is the bombing run on the first reactor, and then you're getting out of the city. Like that's where things start to really differ, is you have this whole escape sequence where you're running out of Midgar and then trying to get back to the slums, where you meet up with like Tifa and the rest of Avalanche and all them. And that's where things kind of start to really differ. It's opening up, you got a lot of side quests, and you're like running around the little town, and people are giving you quests, and we get like 6 side quests, and you knock those off, and then you can advance the story if you want. You could advance the story sooner if you'd like, but then you're going to miss out on experience and gear and materia and all that. So I'm in like the second kind of hub area, I guess, where you get a lot of quests. I've just met Aerith and like done the church thing, met Aerith, gone to her house, and she's going to take me back to Sector 7 in the morning. But in the meantime, we're going to like pick some flowers and shit. I don't know. Yeah, sounds right. Yeah. So I probably in chapter 4 or 5 is where the game starts introducing like some real differences between this, like in the story of what's happening in the plot, like things that did not happen at all, were not referenced, were not a part of Final Fantasy VII in any way to my recollection, are happening. And there's no explanation so far. Everyone's confused. Austin Walker said something.
everyone being everyone
in the game. Yeah,
Okay.
everyone in the game is like, what is this? What is happening? Austin Walker said something on Monday's Waypoint Radio, and I want him to be right, because what he said so far, where I'm at, makes sense. I don't want to say what it is, in case people would like to go in mostly unspoiled, but I think it is the most interesting thing they could have done with this, and like done with this remake as a whole, like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, if they are actually doing what he theorized. And the stuff that has kind of popped up throughout the game so far has me convinced that that's what it is, at least right now. But there's still like 50 hours of game left.
Hey, listeners, maybe skip ahead 45 seconds. What is that kind of thing, Andre?
Yeah, sure. So Austin Walker.
Wait,
yeah,
40,
okay.
Let's give this a minute. So come back in a minute if you don't want spoilers.
All right. Okay. Austin Walker theorized that this is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, and it's like somehow time looped or something. Oh, which would be fascinating, because
that would be really cool, actually.
When I met Aerith, this is extra spoiler. When I met Aerith, Cloud keeps having these like flashbacks to like past events, and I think he might have had a flashback to when she dies. There wasn't like not her getting stabbed or anything, but her like hairband and materia like falling to the ground and stuff.
Right. Which is in Final Fantasy VII original.
And then there are these some Dementor ass motherfuckers who show up and are like protecting her. Mm-hmm. And so they weren't in the original game, but I think maybe they're like the ghosts of her people, because she's like from that ancient race. I don't know, but maybe they're going to save her and not let her die this time.
That would be genuinely extremely cool. And
there we go. 1 minute.
Just just the idea of that kind of makes me want to like force myself through the original and then go play this. So that's
sure.
So that's very rad.
Yeah, I'll wait.
You don't even have to get that far in the original to get to where this game ends.
Right.
So you could try that, but
yeah. And I'll wait.
And I'm away from my PlayStation 4, so I can't play the remake right now.
True. But yeah, I'll wait until you're finished to discuss the ending stuff.
Yeah, because you've said you think I'll hate it, which I think is very interesting. And with Nomura behind it, it's entirely possible. But so far, I have enjoyed everything they're putting down.
So in terms of the ending being completely spoiler free, I think it's really interesting, but I think the execution was a little bit questionable from what I watched.
That sounds like Nomura.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll see in another 20 hours, 30 hours when you get to the end.
30 to probably 30 to 40. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where all it goes. I'm fuzzy on like the course of events, because I always think that Gold Saucer and like the desert Cosmo Canyon stuff takes place before you actually leave Midgar, even though it's technically outside.
Is that
like
Zack?
You go to the no,
stuff?
It's like the Zack's Crisis Core. Zack's an entirely different game. Okay. He's dead by the time Final Fantasy VII happens. It's like the casino and then the prison. Do you remember? And then Barrett has to like fight a guy who also has a gun for an arm. That's where you meet Kate Shee or whatever. Kate Shee. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's because I think he's in the game, so I think that'll happen. I am fuzzy on the course of events, but this just makes me want Final Fantasy VIII remake even more. I already wanted that instead, and that. Hell yeah, that'd be good. But yeah, I think if some people who are fans of the original, I have seen, are unhappy with the way they have done things with this remake, and I think that's the best. I think if they went in and did a super safe, it's exactly what you wanted and what you remembered, that would be
I think this is this is like a way more interesting that it sounds like. From what it sounds like is that they're actually trying something really interesting with this rather than just going
allegedly.
Well, I mean, like just the fact that it sounds like they've definitely changed things up versus like just, put a fresh coat of paint on it or added
if they had
upgraded the graphics, basically,
if they had fleshed things out but left out some of the weirder stuff that I just talked about in that spoiler section, I think it would be fine. I think that'd be a good game. People would love it, but it wouldn't be as interesting.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're trying for something more.
Yes, that's why I'm engaged, is because it's interesting and not just here's Final Fantasy VII again with like expanded.
Yeah,
but I think those changes, and as you go further, I think there are more changes.
I'm sure. If this was all, I'd be confused.
That's the issue that people have been taking with it. Is they're like, this isn't a remake.
That's like, good. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the end, and I'm actually looking forward to the rest of this trilogy saga, whatever it ends up being
in 10 years.
I bet we get one in like two to three. I bet coronavirus has screwed things up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I bet that's well underway. They've got the mechanics, the engine, all that stuff.
Right. They got mechanics, they have the engine, they have all the main characters modeled and everything. So
not all of them.
Oh, well, I mean like the main characters that are, that
they have a lot of the characters.
Now. Yeah. So it's less, they don't have to start from scratch for the next one. But coronavirus,
yes. And we'll get a little bit into that in the news as some more things have come up. But in the meantime, the combat is better than I expected. Maybe.
Okay.
So I was a little worried it was going to be Kingdom Heartsy. I played the demo and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It's a little simple. It's mostly like your main attack is all just like on the square button, just one button, mash it out. And then you can switch between each of the party members. So if you switch to Tifa, she has like the way she attacks is different than the way Cloud attacks because she's hand-to-hand combat versus a sword, or versus Barrett, who has a machine gun on his arm. Mm-hmm. And then if you hit triangle, each character has a special move. So Cloud will switch into like a second stance where he'll automatically parry and counterattack if you guard, but he's really slow. Tifa can like level up and then do different moves based on what level her key is at. I can't remember what exactly she's leveling at, but basically she powers up and then she does different moves based on where she levels up, and then she goes down per level when you use that move. Barrett like does a shot, like a fancy shot, and then has to recharge, stuff like that. And you can switch between in battle. You can set it so when you start battle, you will start as any of those characters if you want. But for the most part, I've been starting as Cloud. I picked up Aerith and I decided, okay, I'm going to try Aerith out because she's actually pretty different. She does like all ranged attacks and has some interesting stuff with how that all works. And then everyone it's got the materia system. So you're putting from the original game, you've got these gems called materia, and there's like fire materia, and that gives you the ability to cast fire. As you use it, it levels up, and then now you can cast fire. You can buy a bunch of these materia, and you can have everyone has fire, or you've got one person with fire, one person with wind, lightning, etc., etc. So yeah, it's very much like original Final Fantasy VII with the materia system. I'm not sure how it's changed, or like how the distribution of the different abilities kind of pairs up to the original, because it's been so long since I played it, probably like 14 years at least, probably more. But I feel like I've been getting a lot of stuff and making use of it. Same thing with weapons. When you get a weapon, the weapons can have different materia slotted into that, or
can have different amounts of materia slotted into them, and then each weapon has different a different ability that you can level up by using, and then once you use it enough, then you can just permanently use it. But there's still reason to go back to those older weapons because they've got either better stats and you can level them up. And there's a lot of systems in this game, which is
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very in depth, and I think it'll, like, for RPG fans, I think it expands on a lot of that stuff in a neat way, and it's very intuitive systems. I haven't felt lost or overwhelmed by anything. I'm still pretty early. I'm still doing the thing where it's like, okay, now you've got 3 party members. Now we're going to take those party members away and give you a new one so you can learn their abilities and all that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I'm still waiting to get my whole crew together and go and cause some havoc. But the boss fights have been tough, but not so tough that I die. Just very like, okay, I've got to be careful here and dodge and actually think about it.
What language?
I just wish.
Sorry.
What? Yeah.
I was just asking, what language are you playing in?
No, English.
Okay.
Yeah. My partner often finds Japanese voice acting in games to be annoying. I don't know how the voice acting is in this, but when I was playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions, she was like, these voice actors are so annoying. I can't be in the same room as this game. So I put that game down and have not touched it since. But maybe I'll get back to it someday because that combat's fun. But that has not been an issue with Final Fantasy VII in English. And I think the voice acting is good. It doesn't have the Kingdom Hearts 3 or Kingdom Hearts in general, like stilted long pause between each line problem.
Right.
Is that because every line they're waiting for a laugh track?
No, it's just they say things and then there's like a beat and then the response, and these feel much more natural, actual conversations. I don't know. The game looks very nice. A lot of it so far has been like brown, deserty slum type areas and inside reactors, like industrial kind of zones. So that's been kind of, it's getting a little tiresome, but I'm finally starting to get to like the more interesting visual places, I believe. So
cool.
But the place I'm at, like 4, 5 hours, 6 hours into the game, is also like an hour and a half into the original.
Yeah.
Maybe, if I'm remembering right. So, you know, it's a mixed bag in that way, but I'm having a good time. And I hope it continues to be a good time. And everything I've heard from other people says it's a good time. So yeah, that's Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, which they don't clearly communicate to anybody.
They really don't. I was just gonna say, like, they don't communicate that on any of the sales stuff or any of the
nowhere.
Yeah.
Marketing or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is only Part 1 of a multi-part remake that I believe stops around the time you exit Midgar, which is the big industrial city. And that's like halfway through disc 1 of a 3-disc game. So we'll see how long the rest of this game takes. I wonder what they do for the open world stuff. I wonder if it just is like Final Fantasy 15-ish.
I mean,
so you get a car?
With that in mind, I do applaud their ambition.
Yes.
But it's also it's you know how Final Fantasy is up to 15, but there's also there's like a billion games. Now we're going to have this whole offshoot of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is going to take its own 10-year cycle.
Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy. Then we're going to get remakes of Dirge of Cerberus and what are some other Final Fantasy?
What was the movie?
Advent Children.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about Advent Children while playing this game. Not because like it references it, just because man, that fight scene with Tifa in the church is pretty cool. Then when Cloud has that sword and then it opens up and a bunch of swords come out of his sword, man, that was sick.
I never actually watched it, but that sounds great.
Yeah. He does like Omni Slash, and he's riding a motorcycle, and then the motorcycle opens up and there's a bunch of swords in the motorcycle.
Oh my god.
It's
I totally should have watched that as a kid then.
yeah, I love that movie. It's probably not technically very good, and the visuals probably don't hold up now. Like, this game probably looks better than Advent Children, but it looks very nice. So yeah, that's Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. Alex,
Hi.
you brought some anime.
Yeah, speaking of things that I could have watched when I was a kid, I'm watching an anime that started in 1988.
Ooh.
Jesus.
It's one season. It started in 1988 and ended in 1997.
One season.
Yeah.
Is that just because they never they aired consecutively?
I don't know if it was all consecutive. Like, I imagine there were breaks in between occasionally.
No, Japan does do they'll do oh, there's going to be oh, here's a few weeks off for whatever reason. There's a special thing, but was it generally there's a few weeks off, but not months off?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule. I've just been watching it contiguously, but yeah, it is really long. Needless to say, it's the core show is 110 episodes, and then it has a gaiden, so a side story that's another 50 episodes.
Okay, so that couldn't be.
It couldn't be weekly for 9 years.
Yeah.
But
okay. That's not bad. That's less than most anime.
Yeah, but it's also
there's than shonen anime.
It's also no filler. It's all core story stuff, which is
that's what you want.
It is what you want. And I was worried going in knowing that.
Have you said what the anime actually is?
Yes, it's Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And my worry going in, because I know people talk highly of it, but I never watched it. And now that we have all this time at home, I figured, well, what better time? I think I even talked about watching it last year, but ended up just not having time. But my worry going in was that because it's so long, I thought the pace was going to be really just slow and it was just going to drag a lot of it. But I'm 14 episodes in and the pace has been pretty quick. They don't linger on stuff for very long. They don't drive stuff into the ground like some modern animes do, which is kind of refreshing actually. And the story is really fascinating. It's it's kind of like Star Wars, but without the Force and more about the political stuff. But it's also kind of like Star Trek in how the main characters they're part of an army and their job is soldiers, but they often want to use diplomacy. They don't want any bloodshed. So there's a whole episode where it's basically a negotiation, and they're trying to get out of this with everybody surviving on both sides. So it's it's pretty appealing in that way. So it covers both Star Wars and Star Trek bases. So I'm into that. And it's also really ahead of its time in terms of where it's going with politics, because politics play a huge part in it. And it's fascinating. I'm actually really liking it so far. Way more than I was expecting, even though I'd heard it's really good. I don't know. What do you guys want to know about it, if anything?
How's the animation?
It's old. It looks old. I'm trying to think of an 80s Ghibli movie like Nausicaa or something. It's kind of similar to that, but obviously not as high budget because it's not a movie.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the issue that you find with normal 80s anime, where it's just a lot of still frames with flapping mouths.
Yeah.
There are lots of big epic scenes and a lot of attention to detail with movements and stuff like that. So it's cool. The art style holds up, I think. And the voice acting actually holds up, which is surprising too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you watching sub or dub?
Sub. I don't even know if there is a dub. I'm watching it on what's the name of that friggin' service? Whatever it's called. Sorry, give me a sec.
It's high rolling anime. .biz.
High Dive. There we go.
Okay, no idea what that is.
I have no idea either.
It's kind of a Crunchyroll alternative.
Okay.
I will say High Dive is not very great. It as a service, it's not wonderful, but they actually have quite a few things, like a lot of good shows that you would want to watch. So,
all right.
But yeah, I don't know. There's lots we could talk about, but I don't know if I should wait until I'm finished in a month or
finish it and then come back with your full thoughts, because
yeah.
But it sounds like you're enjoying it so far.
Yeah. I think Allison, you would enjoy it, and I think Pat would, but he said he started it, but it being so long was daunting for him. So
yeah, I think I've heard about it
110 episodes.
Before,
that's nothing.
160 with the guy down, but
I mean,
I watched most of Naruto. I've read 750 chapters of One Piece, and reading a chapter of One Piece is much faster than reading or watching an episode of an anime. But I've got less than 250 chapters to go on One Piece, and I'm all caught up.
I was briefly considering going and watching some Detective Conan.
Oh, geez.
And that's
it's like 1,000 episodes.
Because
but you don't need like all the lore,
right? And I watched it as a kid, so
yeah.
So I'm like,
case closed.
All of the characters still have their Americanized names in my head, where it's like it's Jimmy Kudo, and I'm like. And so it's like I don't know. It's still very case closed in my head, but that has, let's see how many episodes that has.
They do a lot of, like, every year they'll do like a Conan themed escape room at Universal Studios Japan.
Cool.
And I think they even do like park wide like mystery things where you have to go around and find clues.
Let's see. There are 974 episodes.
Yep.
And
right.
23 feature films.
Oh, jeez. I didn't know about that. That's nuts.
That's a lot of films. I think there was one last year.
I think that they mostly have them, like, the films have been released in April of each year starting in 1997.
Oh my God.
There are
so this is nothing, basically.
927 episodes of One Piece. Yeah.
God.
Jeez.
Yep.
People love One Piece too.
It is very popular here in Japan, and it's gaining some popularity in the States. A lot of people reading One Piece right now. I'm not sure why, but that's what got me on the bandwagon. Anyway, any more anime thoughts?
Yeah,
feelings on anime?
Should watch it. Feelings on anime in general?
I watched.
Oh, sorry. What's up?
Oh, no, you go for it.
No, I was going to say, anime's good. You should watch this one if you're interested in cool stories that are actually really well told and stand the test of time.
I watched the first episode of the anime called Gal and Dino. It's about a gal who adopts a dinosaur. It is weird. It's, I think, by the same person.
Sounds very straightforward.
Yeah. No, but I think it's from the same people who did Pop Team Epic.
Oh, geez.
So
that made me less interested.
I never saw that, so I don't know. But it's very, very weird. Yeah. So if you want something that's like where you're watching it and you're just kind of like, huh, okay. Like there's multiple like different animations. There's like a live action segment.
Okay.
It's very weird.
That sounds like Pop Team Epic. I did not like Pop Team Epic, but its style was not the reason I didn't like it, because that show was basically shit post the anime.
I don't know if this is the same thing, because it's just like Dino is the dinosaur is very, very wholesome, and I love him.
Yeah. Oh, I just remembered. I have one more thought about Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Something that's refreshing about it and that you don't really see in modern stuff is the fact that there's no bad guy, like at all. Even though you're watching two sides of this war that's been going on for like hundreds of years, neither of them are quote unquote bad. They're just people. Like they're just living their lives and they want to live their best lives. And they've been kind of pulled into this war that their ancestors started. So yeah, it's really fascinating how they're able to pull that off, of letting you have sympathy for both sides and not really demonizing the other. So
yeah, that is interesting, and good on them for doing a good job at that. Because hey, war doesn't always have bad guys and good guys.
Anyways,
yeah. Okay, well, since it's just the three of us, kind of short on the game talk this week, game and anime talk, but that just means we have more time for the news.
The last 2 episodes were so long too that I'm kind of like, oh, a shorter one is kind of not terrible, but
yeah, we're coming for you, shorter podcasts. Watch out.
corner of the market.
Yeah,
corner of the market.
On long and short podcasts.
Nobody's going to listen to like 99% Invisible anymore because they'll listen to us.
Call us the Big Short because we put out big ones and we put out short ones. Oh, yeah. And we star Steve Carell. So, Sony revealed in a random blog post the new PlayStation 5 controller, aka the DualSense. Why you gotta change the name?
Yeah.
Well, it's still a DS.
What's wrong with the DualShock?
DualShock 5, like, I don't know. There's something kind of lovely about PlayStation just being like, we'll use the same font. We'll just change up 4 into 5. We got this. So I don't know how I feel about the DualSense, but it looked like a decent controller, I guess.
Its aesthetics are fucking hideous.
Yeah,
so
but
they showed a two-tone controller, which is it's white and black, which is a choice.
Yeah,
mostly white, highlights in black.
Yeah, it's like the outside kind of parts, like the face button area, the touchpad, and the outside of the handles are white, and then the inside with the sticks, where the PlayStation button is, and the inside of the handles are black. And it's not what I would choose if I could. I would be down with a two-tone controller, but not in this two-tone scheme.
It looks very bad. I've seen a lot of people compare the form factor to like the Switch Pro controller, which I do think is a very. I like that controller a lot. So
yeah, a lot of people compared it to the Xbox One controller, and yeah, the Switch Pro was the first thing that came to mind for me upon seeing it.
I don't feel like the Switch is that long. I don't know. I'm sure it'll feel good. I've always liked the DualShock controllers. I think like going back to a DualShock 3 now is like, ooh, no, why
right.
are they like
they
this?
were so
but I really like. Yeah, I really like the DualShock 4.
The DualShock 4 is a really good controller, so
yeah.
It is. I mean, obviously, like Sony knows how to make a good controller, so yes, hopefully this one will feel good in the hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They've got
ugly
coming up on 30 years experience making them. You'd hope they knew how to make a good controller. So the features are, I think they've talked about the features before, like the triggers will adjust based on what you're doing. They call them adaptive triggers, but we can maybe talk about that in a little bit. Depending on what you're doing, the resistance will change on the controller. So if you're pulling back a bow, maybe they'll be tighter, or if you're driving and you go across like some dirt or something, you'll get like, it'll be harder to kick or harder to pull, stuff like that, or be like more mushy. I don't know exactly, but different tensions depend, context sensitive trigger tension, which I assume you can turn off because for some people that might be very unpleasant.
Yeah, I feel like that's the type of thing where maybe at first that's like super cool, but then you get really into a game and you're just like, I just don't want that anymore.
I see a handful of developers actually using that, and most of them will be Sony first party.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like that plus from what I've seen, it sounds like there's going to be kind of more of a haptic feedback, like enhanced feedback in general. So that those
4K rumble is what we're calling that one.
Yeah. So those two put together could make for kind of an interesting experience for sure. Yes. But it really depends on how they use it. I mean, who's developing for it and such.
Yeah. If developers actually, if it becomes the lead platform and that ends up being a feature that devs are just putting in games and like actually using the adaptive triggers and the 4K rumble, then that could be really cool, and I'll be looking forward to it. I look forward to seeing what their vision for the stuff is with it in my hands and actually experiencing it.
Yeah. I just had a thought. I probably wouldn't play that, but I could see those triggers being really interesting for something like a horror game, especially if it's like becomes more difficult the more stressed you are or something like that.
If like the new Amnesia game, as like if you're like the sanity meter is like compromised, it's like harder to pull open a door or something,
or it keeps changing or something like that. Using it could be pretty interesting if used well for like for story purposes, but
yeah,
we'll see.
The adaptive trigger thing, the name kind of caused a stir because that has been used to talk about things like the Microsoft Adaptive Controller, which are used for people who need more accessibility options with their controllers, and maybe a standard controller or standard anything, doesn't have to be a video game component. Adaptive is often used for those accessibility items. Yes, in place of like, instead of calling it the accessibility controller, it's the adaptive controller. And so calling them adaptive triggers when they're specifically not for the purpose of making it more accessible caused a bit of a stir.
Yeah, and I do see where Sony was coming from on it, because they are adapting to your play style, adapting to the gameplay, blah blah blah. Like they are adapting, so calling them adaptive makes sense. And it might have just been coming from a place of ignorance of naming it that.
I feel like it almost certainly, yeah.
But the nice thing is, Andre, I imagine you were getting to it, is that a rep out of Sony said, "Hey, we've been hearing the accessibility comments that you guys been having. If any of the representatives from that community want to reach out to us, just send us a message, and we'll work on the messaging. We'll work on getting the stuff you guys want in there."
Just wish they had done that in the first place. Instead, it's great that they're reaching out. Would be better if they did it in the first place. But yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. Is the PlayStation 4 controller compatible with the Microsoft accessibility controller, or adaptive controller? Wow, I just did it. The adaptive controller, the Xbox adaptive controller, Microsoft adaptive controller, whatever.
Don't know.
I feel like it's not, or it's not compatible with PS4.
I have no idea. I would imagine it's not, but I have not done any research into it.
I actually, Vice, no, my mate Vince, not Vice. That's a channel. So there is a way to get it working with the Xbox adaptive controller.
Okay.
But it's not officially supported.
Gotcha.
So yeah, there's no like a PlayStation firmware update that supports it, but it'd be nice to see them just get on board with that.
Yeah, it would be. I think like accessibility.
Nintendo too. Nintendo, what are you doing?
Yeah, seriously.
Word. But accessibility is a thing that should be like really seriously considered in so many places.
Especially as we've been talking about, Sony has a lot of experience making these controllers. If you're going to be iterating, come on. Get people in there who can really help more people get exposed to these games and be able to play.
Also, there's so many resources out there for accessibility in games. Like, even if you had no idea where to start, you could just reach out. Like if a company reached out to like Able Gamers or something, then they could they could help them find someone. I Google searched like accessibility consultant gaming, and I think people like that exist. So there's
100%.
there are so many like options for making things more accessible if you just think about it.
Yeah. There are plenty of people who are in that community, who are in the gaming community, this community, that have different needs than the standard player. Someone like Half Coordinated, who's in the speedrunning community, who has very little use of, is it his left arm? Basically, he can only use one arm to play video games, and he speedruns games, and he's really good at it. So there are these people who are big in the community, or they're like esports players who quadriplegics who have like the computer mouse like things where they control with their mouths. Yes, mouths. I was trying to remember the plural for mouth. I was like, I almost said mice, and I was like, no, that's not right. Anyway. Yeah, so there are plenty of people, and it's not like it's an invisible issue. If you're in this space, these should be, and designing hardware, it should be something that is easily recognized or addressed. I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
Controller looks ugly as sin, but hopefully it's nice in the hands.
I believe, didn't they say there are two versions? There's the two-tone and like a plain like single color.
There were renders going around of a single color. I don't know if they were official.
I thought the story, like the release, said there were two versions. I hope there are two versions, because
two versions also.
I would get a two-tone. I would not get a black and white two-tone. I wonder what it would look like inverted. Anyway, Cooking Mama Cookstar was released and then almost immediately unreleased. Like the same day, a few days later, something like that.
It was like within 48 hours. But
there were lots of rumors going around.
Yep. The one that seemed
quite incredible.
Yeah, the ones that seemed to catch people, like catch the wind hardest, was that it was a Bitcoin miner.
Yes.
Which makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but it's also just like so hilarious. Yeah.
And then there were people saying it was blockchain was going to be used as a DRM, but then they took that out.
Which you can, but whatever.
Yeah.
And apparently that the president of the company doesn't really know what it means, but was just like using blockchain as a like, look at this fancy thing. We have blockchain. It's like,
as someone who worked at a startup, yeah, that sounds about right. Buzzwords.
So yes.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Cooking Mama Cookstar will not see the light of day anytime soon.
Although there are copies floating around, because
it got a physical release. Is that true?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I think from what I understand, some of the stores that had pre-orders, they just didn't get any, and the people who had pre-orders like at the stores are like, what are you talking about? But certain locations got physical copies. So I saw that Abby from Giant Bomb has a copy. So there's copies floating around somewhere.
Sounds like it runs like doo-doo.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a good game, but like
which seems to be the actual reason it was pulled. Right. Like there was an anonymous developer who do they speak to? Screen Ranch or something like that?
Yeah,
they talked to some random outlet and basically were saying, yeah, we the developers were like not ready for it to be released yet. We were like, hey, don't release it yet. We need more time to make this good. And the publishers were like, releasing it. Yay.
Or also I thought that it was the
I thought it was the other way around.
Oh,
the
was it the
license
other way
holder
around?
was like, this is not quality.
My bad. I thought it was the other way
and it was
around. I thought it was like, who owns the Cooking Mama license was like, no, this is not.
Also, it wasn't clear if this developer was from the company or just knew what was going on. So
fair enough.
There's a lot of he said, she said, not even he said, she said, just someone said.
Yeah. So
the license holder was like, this is not good. You need to not release it yet. It's not
no, and then they released it anyway, and so the license holder was like, absolutely not, and it got pulled off the store.
You can still buy physical copies off of the cookingmamacookstar.com website.
Well,
so you can still buy physical copies, apparently.
You can buy a piece of history right now for one low payment of
$40.
$39.99. Send your payments to paypal.gamingfix and we will not send you that game. We'll do you a favor. If you want to buy Cooking Mama Cookstar, your money is better with us than elsewhere. Next news story. Cyberpunk 2077's DLC will be revealed ahead of release, which is presumably still September of this year.
Yeah. And I think that's the same thing they did with The Witcher, isn't it?
That's so long ago. Maybe.
I seem to remember reading that in part of the articles that I saw.
That is very possibly true. I wouldn't be surprised. That stuff's things they've already planned out at this point with the way CD Projekt Red kind of does their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what it is because I want to play that game. Do you think that game actually makes it out this year?
I think so. I think they might be one of the companies that will push and say like, okay, we don't need a physical release. Let's just do this digital and we can get the physical out later if we need to.
Okay. So what do they do for people who ordered like collector's editions?
I don't know.
Do they just say, here's a digital copy, we'll get you the collector's edition when we can?
That would make some sense to me, but I don't know. It depends if they ordered it directly through them or through like a GameStop or something, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
If it's directly through them, I'm sure they could do that. If it was through a third party, then tough to say.
And I mean, I think that's a tough question about a lot of the games that are coming out this year. If they could go past a physical release, is pre-orders and stuff with places like GameStop or like
well, we
Buy.
talked about it. It happened. Final Fantasy VII. The pre-orders were, or not pre-orders, but physical copies were a concern. So they sent out a lot of physical copies early to Europe and Australia. So people got the game last week.
Yeah, something like that.
Way early, more than a week early. People in some places, but the digital release was held until Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then Last of Us 2 was delayed indefinitely, sounding like it was because of the logistics of manufacturing physical and like shipping and getting physical goods out there. But Ghost of Tsushima not delayed yet.
Yeah.
What is I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the rest of this year looks like. Yeah, because this is kind of there'll be games coming out for these consoles into next year, probably the next few years, but
it's probably
a lot for the AAA and like the Avengers game. Does that get delayed again into next year because they can't make physical copies?
I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yep. Who knows?
So weird.
One place where games won't be coming out, or at least won't be getting rated, is Japan, as the Sero Ratings group in Japan. They're the ESRB equivalent in Japan, is closing until May 6th, which is not gonna be how they're gonna be closed longer. Because the state of emergency in Japan it's not an emergency. It's so bad. Let me tell you, people. Japan is doing a bad job.
Yeah.
They say May 6th, but
that is the end of Golden Week.
That's very optimistic.
That's very optimistic. Yes.
It's the end of Golden Week, and with the way things are going, I imagine people are not going to stay home for Golden Week because they're saying, hey, you should stay home, but there's no penalty for going out. There's no incentive to stay home. They're just saying, please don't go out. They have asked some like businesses, bars, things like that, restaurants, concert venues, etc., to close, but I don't know. People are going to go out for Golden Week. They won't travel. People travel during Golden Week, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Regardless, with Sero,
So,
like
no games being rated for the next month,
which is big because
yeah,
like I don't know. I don't think there's a legal obligation for it to be there, but like most retailers won't sell it unless it has that rating.
yeah. Like
Right.
you go on Steam, but like you can go on some like itch.io, itch.io, but that's all. Like it's not the Switch, that's not Xbox. Nobody plays Xbox in Japan, but it's not PlayStation. That's going to be interesting to see the fallout of this. I wonder how far in advance do games get rated?
It's tough. It differs because they need a playable game. Even if
do they actually play it, or does it need? Because I've heard that a lot of people just watch the game.
Yeah,
they just are given a video. Here's all the content in the game.
Right. They're supposed to be able to have video of all of the content that would be questionable. Like, so basically a highlight reel of what would give it a T rating versus an M rating. But I think there has to be something playable. That's how it used to be, at least, was that there had to be a build that they could do to confirm. But I don't think that necessarily sense. I don't think that necessarily had to be like the 1.0 release. It could be an early release.
And this is also a different group than the ESRB, so their rules are probably different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to game releases in Japan after this, because I imagine this summer is when we'll kind of see the fallout from that.
Yeah, if that continues for 3 months, let's say, what does that mean?
No games launch the PS5.
Yeah.
No games launch on. I think if that happens, the PS5 won't launch. In Japan.
Probably not. Like, you can't just launch a console without any
there will be
games to sell it.
There will be no new console in Japan because the Xbox isn't going to launch in Japan this year. So
yeah, well, and also nobody in Japan buys Xboxes anyways. But
yeah, but yes, so that's why it's not going to launch here this year. So it'll be a delayed launch. But
do people in Japan use PCs though, or do they go to cafes like in Korea?
Yeah, they use PCs. I don't see PC bongs or PC, PC bars. They're occasional, but I haven't seen any like. I see the occasional VR cafe or
same here.
VR arcade, but not a ton of PC or net cafes. Or if they are, they're not like gaming related, and they're more like you can get like they have like little kind of cubicle type rooms, and you can like sleep there if you want, but.
And karaoke.
You wouldn't want to do that in a net cafe because the rooms are very small. They're just like, here's a little like, rice paper divider or whatever. Anyway, the next news story: Lena Raine, the composer for Celeste, is composing new music for Minecraft.
Yeah, which is a pretty cool one. Lena Raine is awesome.
The music in Celeste is so good.
Yeah. And was it C418 that used to do the music in Minecraft, or did like most of the original music?
I don't know.
He's great, and it's nice to see that they're like, Minecraft has been getting a lot of updates really quietly. Like, I don't know if you guys have been watching that, but like
no, because I don't play Minecraft, but Microsoft seems to have been doing good by Minecraft.
Yeah, like they still release a lot of stuff on the Java client, even though they have the native client now. But like, because they recognize that not all the people want to go to the native client. They just want to stick with their old stuff. So they're backporting like pretty much all of the updates into the Java one. But yeah, like I was talking with a friend who still plays it, and it's just they've added new areas. They've added the end has been there for a year or two now, but like they're adding more story stuff. There's a lot more mobs. Like now there's like a villager type mob who will go into your chests and start stealing shit. like raiders, basically.
Oh, okay. As when you said chest, I thought you meant like physical chest, and I was
Yes.
like, "What?"
They'll reach into your chest and pull out your still beating heart.
I was like, "It's just like
It's-
so." This sounds so scary.
Miss Frizzle takes her magic school bus and shrinks down and goes inside your
Oh,
Minecraft
please.
body chest and
Please,
teaches all her students. It's never a dull day with the Frizz. That's not how it goes. Anyway, more Lena Rain music. That's always good.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Next, official at this time now, we finally know there will be no online E3 event this year.
No official ones.
No E3.
No, yeah, no
There's
E3
nothing-
branded.
No, yeah.
Nothing from the ESA.
Yes.
Yeah, because
The
like we know that there's going to
IGN.
IGN, but
And other stuff like that. There's going to be online events where people announce stuff, but a lot of people have already said we're not doing anything in June this year.
Yeah,
Then
Bethesda said that, I think.
Bethesda. A lot of people are signed on for IGN. I believe we talked about that last week. Square is one of them. Amazon, Google.
Twitter.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Microsoft is going to be doing their own thing, it sounds like, but they've also said no public events, or they're going to do digital first events until June of next year. So that assumes E3 next year, I guess. Gonna
that's a
do
big assumption.
Primarily, well, they've announced
They've
E3
announced
next
E3
year.
Right.
2021, yeah.
Right.
So
I mean,
their
yeah, but
plan
they
is
announced
digital-
E3 2020, so
Yes, but
Yeah. That's-
unforeseen circumstances.
right.
I hope to God we are not still having to quarantine and stop events like this because over a year from now.
Oh, for sure.
Let's
No,
say that.
I seriously hope that too. I just mean that like it doesn't feel with this announcement, it doesn't feel like the ESA is necessarily trying hard to remain relevant, or maybe they like reached out to people and all the other companies are like, nah, I'm not going to do it with the ESA. So that's even more.
They have been kind of lackluster for a while, long time.
I think it's more that E3 doesn't know what it is.
Oh,
It's like-
yeah.
it's
also
totally,
because the ESA doesn't know what it is.
yeah,
And
it's all just an identity crisis. They don't know how to modernize.
yeah, the ESA is holding a lot of things back.
Yeah.
And so they need to be, I don't know, revamped. They need some new blood in there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out in the next few months.
About the June events.
The June events, the summer in general. What happens to Gamescom? I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh no, there's almost no chance.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you even right
The
now
GDC
say
summer is taking registrations.
I think most of that's supposed to be online though.
okay,
Is it okay?
Yeah.
that's better.
Maybe. Okay. Well, if it is, that's good. But I've seen some people saying, hey, don't plan to travel to the US if you're like abroad, until it's more clear what the situation is going to be like, because that's a few months off still.
Yeah.
Anyway, our next news story, one that I have been saying for at least a year, I think. Resident Evil 8 expected to be released in 2021.
Yep. And
there have been a lot of leaks and like rumors and details coming out.
Yeah.
First person.
Sounds like it's a continuation of 7 more.
Yeah,
of.
which
Yeah, or like the style of 7 at least.
I've seen
Same characters, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same team as Resident Evil 7, so that makes sense.
Yep.
So I've seen 2 different rumors regarding who you're playing as. I've seen one say you're playing as Chris Redfield, who, spoiler, appears at the end of Resident Evil 7.
End of 7 at the helicopter.
Yeah, and he comes down and says, I'm Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
And then you play as him in one of the DLCs. And then the other one is you play as Ethan Winter, who is the main character of 7. It's supposed to take place in Europe, I believe. And there's like witches and werewolves and hallucinations.
Why not?
That would be pretty interesting, the hallucinations thing. If we get another...
Yeah.
That was Resident Evil 7 was all hallucinations too, though. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it was hallucinations.
Yeah,
You were like being mind controlled by the little girl,
right? But I'm thinking like Eternal Darkness style, where it gets kind of fourth wall breaking-y.
Sure. Yeah, like I mean, if they can, that'd be pretty cool. If they can do that, that if they, but then I feel like that's not Resident Evil.
Well, I think I don't think witches and or werewolves are Resident Evil either, but I would be interested in seeing what they can do with it.
Yeah. I think that team is very good, and I would be I am interested in seeing what they do. Yeah. Supposedly this was being developed as like Resident Evil Revelations 3. I've not played any of the Revelations games. Maybe I should.
They're fine.
But this was supposed to be built as Revelations 3, and then Capcom was like, hey, this is real good. Let's just make this Resident Evil 8. And supposedly it's Resident Evil Village, the VILL, making up the 8 like they did in Resident Evil Biohazard, which was 7. Yeah. I will play that game because
I probably will too.
I will probably be too scared to play it.
Most of everything Capcom is putting out has been a banger, but Resident Evil 3 has left me like,
yeah, that was.
I tried to play a little bit of Resistance, but for whatever reason, which is the multiplayer.
Oh, right.
That came out with Resident Evil 3.
I was thinking like the PlayStation 3 game.
No, it came. I played the tutorial. I'm gonna hopefully play some more of that this week or something, and have more thoughts next week. But
cool.
It's weird.
Yeah, weird as fun.
Anyway,
but
yeah. Any other thoughts on Resident Evil?
I'm interested in what they'll do. I had another thought, but it's gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would be. I want more of that. I want them to keep doing new stuff, but at the same time, like, Code Veronica is pretty good.
Okay, I remembered it. I'm glad that it seems like they're approaching it as, oh, we started making this thing and it's really good. Make this the main game, rather than the way they approached Resident Evil 6. Which was like, okay, we're going to get a billion studios all to work on the same game that is our vision, and we're going to make it good. But it turned out terrible. So starting from a place where it's already good is much better than, like, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks. Too many cooks.
What's the name of the little stuffed dude in that? The elf kind of.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, anyway.
No. Get that guy in Resident Evil.
Well, you know where that guy might actually be more at home? In a new Saints Row game, which is being developed at Volition.
Yeah. What was their last game? Agents of Mayhem?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, they had that.
Did someone on this podcast play it? Did Pat play that?
I think Pat played it.
I think he liked it because, of course, he did.
I
don't want to rag on Pat too much. He's not here to defend himself. But
yeah,
I think I got that in a Humble monthly, maybe.
It was a part of the COVID-19 bundle.
Sure.
Humble.
Okay, so
and I didn't buy that. Whoops.
Oh well, then never mind.
Yeah, but I really love Saints Row 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So it's if it's kind of a return to form, that would be super good because I love those games a lot. And
what do you want from a Saints Row 5 or a new Saints Row game? You want time travel?
God, time travel. That could be good.
Time traveling where?
Anywhere.
But so this is like a Dave Chappelle player hating through the ages type thing.
Chrono Trigger, but Saints Row.
Oh God.
But if they did a Yakuza and made it Yakuza 7 is a RPG now. That's the new Saints Row is an RPG, turn-based combat.
I don't know, that kind of lost me there, but
they could probably do it in a section. I mean, they had a text adventure section in 3.
Yeah, they certainly did, and they certainly had a couple of weird other sections, which is I think one of the things that I would want mostly is that I think the overall gameplay is fun. It's just all the side activities are what makes it really
Sure.
fun for me. So
do you think they can have they said much about it, or is it just that it's in development?
Just that it's in development.
Do you think they're continuing the story of the crew from the previous games, or are they going to do a reboot, new characters?
I don't even remember what happened at the end of 4. I know
it was bonkers.
I remember
but
it was
that's
dumb, but I don't remember what it was.
I know that isn't like the Earth
Keith
exploded?
David betrayed you.
Jane Austen showed up at one point.
Right, I forgot about that.
I don't even remember that.
She was narrating the start of the game and then came back at the end of. And then there's also I think I own Gat Out of Hell, but I never played much of it.
I don't think I played Gat Out of Hell either.
I just kind of was like, I don't really care. I mostly like I like the, I don't know. Now I'm just looking up the Saints Row 4 wiki plot. Okay.
They had the really good romance stuff
where there was no lead up. It was just a button. Yeah.
So just like, fuck. Yeah.
Yep. I hope they bring back Kinsey.
But there is the possibility of time travel to visit Earth before it was destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah. So there could be time travel. Kinsey's cool.
That sure.
Yes, she is.
I like Kinsey a lot. She's I like the characters a lot. I think they're all very fun.
I am tentatively interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I feel like if this was just directly after Saints Row 4, I would be like extremely hype because of how much I like Saints Row 4. But considering both Gat Out of Hell and Agents of Mayhem, I'm like, it would sure be nice if it was good.
Yeah, but people always forget the DLC for 3 was also terrible.
I'm not even worried, like, based on DLC. I'm just like, I haven't touched Saints Row 4 since it came out, basically. Yeah. And I had a good time with it, but I'm like, is that type of game still funny? Is that sense of humor still relevant?
It's hard to say. I mean, yeah. I 100% of the game, I think right when it came out. I don't remember when I last played it. I think I booted it up a while ago because I was feeling it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yes. both of them are coming to the Switch, so
I have them in my wish list, and I keep considering, should I do that, even though I've 100% of both 3 and 4 on PC. So I don't know.
What celebrity guest stars do you want to see in a new Saints Row game?
Jeez.
Honestly, Jane Austen was like.
Jane Austen's dead, so it's not like actually Jane Austen.
No,
like
I know, but at the same time,
Burt Reynolds was the mayor in Saints Row 3. Like that's some shit. Like,
but at the same time, like when they start Saints Row 4 with like a Jane Austen narration, I'm like, this game was made exactly for me.
It is a good bit. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying living celebrities. Who would you like? Roddy Piper beating the shit out of Keith David in that is very good.
Danny DeVito.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Danny DeVito
and Brad Leone.
Oh my gosh! Like having a full DLC pack of all the characters, of all the people from the BA Test Kitchen, that would be amazing.
And then you have to die for Claire from the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen.
I mean,
That's the end of that's the end of the last DLC.
Yeah,
that's the end of the saga. No more Saints Row games because you died. All right.
How about you, Andre? Who would you want to see?
Every person who has played Batman.
Oh, jeez.
In a movie, or no, any person who has voiced or played Batman, all of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would be good.
Okay. I was gonna just adopt the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen. Yeah. And now I'm just trying to think of like who could be.
Oh, I know your answer. It'd be like Morning Musume or like some idols
that nobody else cares about, but then it shows up and I'm like, okay, they did actually seriously make this game
they put
only
like
for me.
If they put BTS, like that would be actually super. I know you're not like you're not the super BTS fan, but like that seems like the kind of thing they might do.
It does seem like the thing they might do.
Like it's I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's too popular, like too mainstream. I don't know. But it would be funny if they got some idols or like if they got Blackpink. Hell yeah.
That would actually be very funny.
If Blackpink was a competing gang, or it's just like, there we go.
Okay, you solved it.
That's what I want. I want Blackpink in there as a competing gang. Anyway, you have to have a dance off. The Murder Brawl Chainsaw. I just remembered that from Saints Row 3. That was real good.
I mean,
stupid.
The credits of Saints Row 4 was literally a dance party, so I don't think you're that far off.
It was.
It's true. Anyways. All right. More COVID-19 news. New World, Amazon's Colonial Simulator has been delayed to August.
Oh no!
Because of work from home has made it difficult to complete the game. Is what they're saying, basically. Just I'm
moving on.
Yeah, like that game costs approximately $50, maybe $40-$50.
I don't know.
There are multiple versions, and does it have a monthly subscription?
I have been actively not following that game, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. So, some people on the podcast have expressed interest, and so maybe we'll talk about it at the end of the year if it comes out, which it might not.
Hey, that's probably fine.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, our last bit of news this week. It is an extremely appropriate news story for the people on this podcast.
Yep.
For Danganronpa's 10th anniversary, Spike Chunsoft is doing monthly news broadcasts starting in May.
Hell yeah. I would love to see what that team does.
Oh, is this like about new games? Is this just
know.
them? There's no information on this. It's just in May we're going to start doing monthly news broadcasts.
I don't know.
Is it going to be reading?
Like it's supposed to be news. It's supposed to be news reveals.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it about new Danganronpa game?
I don't know.
I mean, they very specific.
Can you do a new Danganronpa game?
They could do an Ultra Despair Girls too.
Wasn't that not good?
No, it wasn't. But they could.
They could. People do not good games all the time. It's true.
They could do a VR game.
There was a Danganronpa 3 VR experience that I messed with. It's fine. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing it because where V3 ends.
Okay, wait. What if Alex?
Hey,
Allison, you're here. What if we just do it right now?
Wait, I never played
V3. Finally talk about the ending. Are you going
to? Because we could just do it.
I would like to, but
we have to do it someday. We've been talking about it for 2 years at this point.
I mean, it's it's a short podcast. We could just do it.
I don't know.
If you want, I could just take my headphones off and like you could give me
it's fine.
Signal.
I mean, we could just let Allison go, and then we could just talk about the end of
how fucked up the ending of that game is. I love it. I think I remember saying it on like one of our first episodes, saying that I played it like the day after we did our Game of the Year deliberations, and I was like, shit, we made a mistake because this game is buck wild.
Yeah.
That ending. I still think about how awesome that ending is.
That ending is quite something.
There's a whole part of that ending where your interaction is actively saying fuck you to the game and not touching the controller. And they justify that.
Yeah.
In World.
Yeah. Allison, you should play it.
It's really
good.
Maybe
this is like going to be the impetus for me to keep playing or at least restart playing the first Danganronpa.
You could probably go in straight to 3. Honestly.
Yeah,
Like, there's
there are
some
some
stuff
things
at the very end that there's some things at the very end, like the last chapter, we'll say, the last hearing.
there are
There's
some
references.
I mean,
I
I
think
feel
there are some references throughout, kind of, but yeah.
You
Like
mean,
at
it's
the
no-
beginning of that game too. Like
yeah.
I
everything
mean, I
about
have
that
the
game's
first
kinda wild.
Danganronpa, so I might as well.
It's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I probably should.
Danganronpa's good.
Well,
It's
especially
very-
since I really really love, as you know, the Zero Escape
Escape.
series,
Yeah.
and now that they're Zero Escape, Kotaro Uchikoshi and the creator of Danganronpa are doing their own thing together now. So
Yes, hopefully we get some news about that from these monthly news broadcasts.
That would I don't know if
well,
that's
they're not
going
with
through
Spike
Spike.
Chunsoft
Yeah, I was
now.
gonna say. I don't
Yeah.
Oh, is it not? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they have their own. They created their own studio.
Yeah, they're with.
Okay, I thought it was like Spike Chun was
no,
going to publish
it's
or something. Okay.
2Q? Is that their
Yeah,
name now?
Tukyo. It's something like that.
Tukyo, yeah,
Something like that. Yeah,
yeah, it's Tukyo.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think it's actually like they haven't announced any dates or anything. That's like the Death March Club.
Yeah,
Or whatever it's called. I
It's-
can't remember.
It just sounds like
they also have
Zero
something-
Escape / it sounds exactly
It
like Zero
extremely
Escape
does.
/ Danganronpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also have a game called Death Come True
Oh,
that I
know
don't
that
know
one.
if. Yeah,
Well, oh yeah,
Anyways.
they've put out some stuff already or something like that. I don't
no,
know.
I don't think that's come out yet.
Oh, okay. They've just got
Yeah.
2 games. I could have sworn they had something come out. Anyway,
Anyways, but I do need to play through all of Danganronpa, considering how much I love the Zero Escape, and I was actively thinking, should I replay Zero Escape now?
and how many games are not going to come out this year?
True, it's like perfect time to.
Mhm.
Wait, do I own all 3 Danganronpas?
It's very possible. They've been on sale a lot.
The last 2
it's
hours
also-
of V3 though.
It's also very possible because I have so many games on my Steam that I just like. Oh, I do own all 3. Okay, I'm going to play through those. So
Hell yeah.
Good. Yes, I look forward to hearing about it because
Yeah. because I was thinking, I'm like, oh, if I only own 1, then would I want to do that, or would I want to wait until I have all 3? And then I'm like, no, I own all 3. So
I hope they do a whole I hope one of these announcements is that Gonta gets his own game.
Gonta. Which
He was
one's
the big
Gonta?
bug loving guy.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fuck, he was
I
so
don't know who
good.
that is,
I want-
but I kind of like
he's from 2.
legit.
No, he's 3.
3? Oh, he is from 3, right. I'm just always thinking about Nekumaru Nidai.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna shit. Oh
I
god.
forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh man, those games fucking wild. Okay. Well, that's gonna do it for episode 116. Not your Danganronpa 3 spoiler cast on April 11th, 2020. I almost said 2016. Oh my god.
We weren't even doing this podcast in 2016.
2017, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh boy.
coming soon to
And even
Stadia.
barely then. Anyway.
Yeah, we did
Yeah,
one
one
like just
episode.
it still counts, even though it was technically not our first episode and it was technically not our podcast. Anyways,
Anyway, episode 116, April 11th, 2020.
yeah.
I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's least favorite soda.
Mhm.
You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Alex, where can people find you?
Locked in my apartment.
Nice. Allison, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. Although I just have so much nonsense on that Twitter, I don't know if actually anybody would want to follow me.
And you can follow the Gaming Fix podcast at Fix Podcasts on Twitter. Is that right? Am I getting it right? I always forget.
Yep.
You nailed it.
And nailed it in one. No issues there with insecurities about remembering the Twitch name or not the Twitch Twitter name. It's late. It's past midnight. It's April 12th for me.
You should go to bed.
Yeah, we'll see. This is not the latest we have podcasted.
Certainly not.
You just need to talk about Danganronpa 3 to get me fired up again. We've got some reviews up on the site, fix.space. You can find my review of Resident Evil 3, Alex's review of Catgirl Without Salad, Amuse Bouche, and a review from a friend of the podcast, Chris Edgerton of MLB The Show 20.
Hell yeah.
And we might have some more guest reviews going up this week or in the near future. So
We will see.
keep tuned for that.
They're in the works.
Got some irons in the fire for some other crossover promotion activity stuff that we'll see in the near future. Hopefully, we'll see what's going down. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have the best sleep you've ever had tonight, Andre.
Yes.
Wow.
You have to let us know if it was a bad sleep.
I will let you know if it's a bad sleep for sure. I woke up at like 6 today. Why did I wake up at 6? But then I've been taking a lot of naps, like mid-morning naps. I'm like up for like 2 hours and I fall back asleep. It's great. You don't have to be anywhere. Don't have work. Like, it's killer. But I probably have to go back to work on like the 20th, but then there's not gonna be any kids. So what am I gonna do? What is
Naps.
Maps?
Naps.
I don't know if it's a new school. I can't nap at my desk yet. I don't know if it's allowed. I don't have class. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with probably a meaty pod. We know you love meaty pods.
Is that like a dumpling? Like a Tide Pod with meat?
Yeah,
Is that the title of the podcast now?
it's like a slider. It's a slider with a Tide Pod on it.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
Do
bye.
you say OGs or and cheese?
And both.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.